Picture this. It's 8 p.m. on a Friday night, and you step inside a local gaming lounge. The room is dimly lit, bathed in a cool wash of neon purple and blue RGB lighting. High-end mechanical keyboards are clicking like machine guns, surround sound headsets are thumping with footsteps, and 50 high refresh rate monitors light up the faces of hyper-focused gamers. Every single ergonomic chair is occupied. A squad in the back corner is screaming over a last-second victory, while two people at the front counter wait in line to grab the next open station. You look around this buzzing room and do the mental math. 50 seats, each charging $10 an hour. That's $500 an hour flowing straight into the cash register. Multiply that across a weekend, and it looks like the easiest, coolest business on the planet. You are literally getting paid to let people sit down and play video games. Except that Friday night crowd is the single most deceptive snapshot in retail business. This is the 1 hour that lies to you the most. What you are looking at isn't a money printer. It's an illusion built on top of a massive pile of invisible costs. To understand why so many gaming lounges silently collapse within their first 2 years, you have to look past the glowing lights and understand the hidden math draining cash out of the room. Let's ground this in a simple scenario and follow one individual customer. Meet Alex. Alex walks in on Friday evening, hands the cashier $15, and buys 3 hours of game time on a top-tier PC rig. In your head, that $15 is pure revenue sitting comfortably in the owner's wallet. But before Alex even finishes loading into his first online match, 3 invisible hands reach into that $15 bill and strip it down to pennies. The first hand belongs to the building itself. Here is the trap that catches almost every first-time lounge owner. Bills that stay identical, whether 50 gamers show up or 0. In business, some costs change based on how busy you are, but a physical venue is completely ruthless. A sleek retail location in a busy shopping plaza demands its lease payment, regardless of whether your room is packed or dead silent. If you divide that monthly space bill across every operating hour, Alex's 3-hour session has to pay its mandatory cut to the landlord before anyone else touches a cent. And then there is the hidden trap almost nobody budgets for correctly: the cost of breathing cold air over hot silicon. When you pack 50 heavy-duty gaming computers into a single enclosed room, you haven't just built an arcade. You have built a massive industrial heater. 50 high-end graphics cards running at maximum power produce an astonishing amount of ambient heat. Standard retail air conditioning simply cannot keep up with that thermal load. If you don't upgrade to an industrial-grade cooling system, the room turns into an unbearable sauna within 30 minutes, and expensive hardware starts overheating and shutting down. Suddenly, you are stuck with a massive monthly utility bill just to blast air conditioning across the floor, long before you ever make a single dollar of real profit. By the time Alex logs off his station 3 hours later, his $15 hasn't made the owner rich. It barely covered the electricity running his monitor, the cooling system keeping his seat comfortable, and his tiny share of the rent. The real danger isn't Friday night at 8 p.m. when every chair is filled. The real danger is Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m., when 48 of those 50 expensive machines sit completely empty and the meter on the building keeps spinning at full speed. When you look at a sleek gaming station, it's easy to think of it as a permanent asset like a bar counter or a bowling lane. Once you buy it, it's there, making you money for years. But high-performance electronics don't work like traditional furniture. They are more like perishable food with a very specific, merciless expiration date. And then there is the quiet financial executioner waiting inside every motherboard, the 3-year death clock. To see how this clock ticks down, let's track a single station on the floor. Station 12. On opening day, Station 12 is a monster. It has a high-end graphics card that cost $1,500, a lightning-fast processor, and a crisp, high refresh rate display. Gamers willingly pay a premium to sit here because it runs the latest blockbusters at buttery smooth frame rates. For the first 12 months, Station 12 is a star performer. By month 24, the landscape starts to shift. Major game developers release brand new titles built for the next generation of hardware. Station 12 still works perfectly, but now it has to drop graphics settings to medium just to stay smooth. The hardcore gamers, the ones who spend 6 hours at a time, notice immediately. They stop reserving Station 12 and wait in line for the newly upgraded rigs across the aisle. By month 36, the death clock strikes 0. Station 12 can no longer run competitive titles at the standards your audience demands. To keep your seats full, you have no choice but to tear out that graphics card and replace it. But when you try to sell the old hardware to recoup your costs, you discover a brutal reality. Component value drops like a stone, leaving you with pennies on the dollar for gear that originally cost a fortune. Multiply Station 12 by 50 stations, and every 3 years you are hit with a mandatory 6-figure hardware bill just to stay in business. To avoid dropping $100,000 in cash on day 1, Most first-time lounge owners walk straight into a financial bear trap: equipment financing. On paper, leasing 50 high-end computers sounds brilliant. Instead of wiping out your bank account before opening your doors, you pay a manageable monthly fee per machine. You keep your cash reserves intact and get the option to upgrade the hardware when the lease ends. It feels like a safety net, but it is actually a heavy anchor chained to your ankle. Commercial equipment loans carry high interest rates because tech hardware depreciates so fast. That means over a 3-year contract, you end up paying significantly more than the original price tag of the gear. Worse still, the lender doesn't care if your lounge has a slow month or a dead winter. That lease bill is due every 30 days, without exception. If foot traffic drops and you can't pay, the financing company won't just repossess the computers. Contracts usually require personal guarantees, meaning those monthly payments follow you home even if you lock the front door for good. And if the hardware costs don't eat your margins, the power grid hidden inside the walls will finish the job. Plug 50 heavy-duty gaming setups into a standard commercial room, and you will instantly blow the main breaker. A single high-end station under full load draws as much electricity as a toaster. 50 of them running simultaneously draw enough power to run a small factory. Most standard retail buildings aren't wired for that kind of concentrated electrical demand. Before you can turn on a single monitor, you have to pay an electrician tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade the building's main power panel and pull heavy-duty wiring through the ceiling. Then comes the thermal penalty. 50 computers at full load generate the exact same heat as 50 space heaters turned on high. Unless you invest in specialized industrial ventilation to pull that hot air directly out of the building, your air conditioning units will run at maximum capacity 24 hours a day, generating electric bills that swallow whatever profit you had left. If you try to run a gaming lounge purely by renting out computer stations by the hour, you hit a hard mathematical ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day, and you only have 50 chairs. Even if every single seat is filled from open to close, your maximum revenue is locked inside a tight box. To break out of that box and build a sustainable business, smart owners stop relying on hourly foot traffic and unleash a secret weapon: the subscription model. This strategy introduces the most profitable customer a venue will ever see: the ghost gamer. To understand how this economic engine works, let's compare two different customers who both buy a $75 monthly VIP pass. First, meet Marcus. Marcus is a dedicated competitive player. He shows up 4 nights a week, sits down at Station 12 for 5 hours at a time, and plays demanding multiplayer games with his team. Marcus gets incredible value out of his pass. But for the venue owner, Marcus is an expensive guest to host. He burns through heavy electricity, cranks up the cooling bill, wears down mouse switches, and occupies a seat during peak weekend hours that could have been rented to someone else. Now meet Liam. Liam buys the exact same $75 monthly pass on an optimistic Sunday afternoon. He promises himself that he is going to spend every Friday night practicing and gaming with his friends. But real life quickly gets in the way. Work demands pick up, school gets stressful, or he simply gets comfortable sitting on his own couch at home. Liam shows up twice in January, once in February, and then completely forgets that the automatic subscription is still active on his bank statement. Which of these two players actually keeps the business alive? It is Liam by an overwhelming landslide. Liam pays $75 every single month like clockwork, but his daily cost to the business is zero. He consumes no power, puts zero wear and tear on mechanical keyboards, and takes up zero physical space on the gaming floor. Every single dollar from Liam's forgotten subscription flows directly to the owner's bank account, quietly subsidizing the heavy utility bills created by dedicated players like Marcus. And then comes the sneaky high-margin engine hidden right behind the front desk, the concession counter. When a gamer locks themselves into a 4-hour tournament match or a late-night team raid, they aren't going to log off, walk out the door, and drive down the street for dinner. They want immediate fuel without stepping away from the screen. A smart venue owner buys canned energy drinks in bulk for $1 each and sells them at the front counter for $4. That is a 300% markup on a simple product that never depreciates, never needs software updates, and never breaks down. Watch what happens when you combine these two income sources together. A player like Marcus might barely break even on raw seat time because of high power bills, but over his 5-hour gaming session, he buys 2 energy drinks, a bag of chips, and a bowl of hot instant noodles. The 30-cent packet of noodles sells for $3. The 50-cent bag of chips sells for $2. Suddenly, the owner is making far more profit from the snacks sitting on Marcus's desk than from the $1,500 computer running underneath it. This is the core revelation that separates bankrupt lounges from thriving operations. The high-end rigs on the floor aren't actually the main cash generator, they are the visual bait that gets people through the door. The real business is built on recurring monthly passes paid by people who rarely use them, paired with massive markups on food and drink sold to the regulars who do. Once you master that system, an empty chair is no longer a losing proposition. It becomes a quiet station that has already paid its rent for the month. Imagine putting up a bright flyer on your front window announcing a massive Saturday night tournament for the biggest battle royale in the world. $50 per team of 430 teams registered, a grand prize of $1,000, and a venue packed wall-to-wall with spectators. The energy is electric, the room is screaming, and local gamers are treating your lounge like an esports arena. It feels like the ultimate marketing move that prints cash and builds a legendary community overnight. Except behind that screaming crowd lies an invisible web of publisher rules, legal threats, and commercial licensing fees that can wipe out your entire weekend's profit before the final match even starts. Most people assume that if you buy a copy of a popular video game for $60, you can put it on a computer and let whoever sits in your shop play it. But personal gaming accounts carry a strict personal use agreement. The moment you charge a customer money to sit in front of that screen, using a personal account becomes illegal commercial exploitation. Game publishers monitor these venues closely, and running unlicensed software in a public space can trigger immediate cease and desist letters or massive corporate lawsuits. And then comes the legal ambush sitting inside your Steam library. To legally offer popular titles across 50 stations, you can't just buy 50 copies off the shelf. You are forced to pay for specialized commercial licensing platforms that charge you a fee for every single minute a customer spends playing a game. Take a popular shooter like Duty of Honor. If 30 gamers play it for 4 hours on a busy Saturday, those platform fees quietly slice off $1 or $2 per player every single hour. Before you even calculate your electricity or rent, a chunk of your hourly seat rate gets funneled directly back to the software publisher just for the right to keep that icon on your desktop. Then there is the trap hidden inside those exciting weekend tournaments. On paper, the math sounds straightforward. You collect $50 from 30 teams, bringing in $1,500 in cash. You hand out a cool $1,000 to the winning team, keep $500 for the house, and call it a successful night. Let's look at what actually happens to that $500. A tournament doesn't run itself in an hour. It eats up 8 full hours of peak Saturday operating time. During those 8 hours, your entire floor of 50 stations is completely locked down by tournament players. If those same 50 seats were rented out at the standard $10 an hour, they would have generated $4,000 in gross revenue. Instead, you locked up your entire building for a single $1,500 pot, gave away 2/3 of it in prize money, and left yourself with $500 to cover 8 hours of staff wages, referee pay, high-draw electricity, and tournament broadcast software. You essentially traded a $4,000 business day for $500 and a lot of noise. Worse yet, game publishers have strict rules about how independent venues can host tournaments using their intellectual property. Many major studios cap the total prize money an independent lounge can give away per year. Go over that limit without an expensive publisher license, and corporate lawyers will shut your tournament down in an instant. They also frequently mandate that you can't run competing brand sponsors or stream the footage on monetization platforms without sharing the revenue with them. To manage all this chaos, you need specialized management software running silently in the server room, software that wipes user data after every session, deploys game patches across 50 hard drives at once, and tracks every second of paid time. Those enterprise management tools require monthly subscription fees running into hundreds of dollars every month. By the time you satisfy the publishers, pay the licensing platforms, and clear the management software bills, that flashy Saturday tournament wasn't a windfall. It was an expensive marketing campaign that barely paid for its own power grid. When you stack every single piece of this machine together, the harsh reality of the business model becomes crystal clear. A high monthly rent bill that never shrinks, an industrial utility charge that spikes every summer, an inevitable 6-figure hardware replacement bill every 3 years, and software publishers taking a cut of every single session. If your entire strategy relies on hoping local teenagers walk in and hand you $10 for an hour of screen time, the math will eventually catch up to you and crush your business. So how do the surviving lounges actually make money? How do they beat the odds, survive the slow months, and build a business that generates real, long-term wealth? The secret is that the most successful lounge owners aren't actually running a gaming cafe at all. They are running a multi-stream event space that happens to have high-performance computers sitting in it. They stop waiting around for individual players to fill seats one by one, and they pivot to high-ticket, bulk revenue. And here is the hidden gold mine that turns a dead room into a cash-generating engine: corporate clients on slow weekdays. Remember that painful Tuesday afternoon when 48 out of 50 stations sat completely empty, burning electricity while the rent clock ticked? A smart owner targets that exact window. Instead of praying for a few casual gamers to walk through the door at 2 in the afternoon, they rent the entire floor to a local tech company or corporate firm for a private team building event. Let's do the math on a single afternoon. A corporate client pays a flat fee of $2,000 to book out the lounge for 3 hours. The corporate team gets an exclusive venue with top-tier hardware, custom multiplayer games, and catered food. The lounge owner collects $2,000 in guaranteed cash on a day that normally would have generated $50. In one single corporate booking, the owner covers a massive chunk of the month's space bill. Next comes turning unused corner space into high-margin media hubs. Instead of cramming 3 more gaming stations into the back corner, successful owners build a dedicated, soundproof streaming and podcast booth. Aspiring content creators, esports commentators, and local influencers constantly need professional lighting, high-end microphones, and dual monitor setups to record their shows. You can rent out a single creator booth for $50 an hour. That is 5 times more revenue per square foot than a standard gaming seat, with virtually zero extra wear and tear on expensive equipment. And then comes the part almost no first-time owner considers: taking money from hardware companies instead of giving it to them. A room filled with 50 hyper-engaged gamers every weekend is a dream audience for peripheral manufacturers, regional internet providers, and beverage brands. Instead of buying keyboards and mice at full retail price, successful lounge owners partner with equipment brands to supply gear in exchange for high-visibility sponsorship. Suddenly, your massive equipment upgrade bill gets cut in half, while local brands pay you monthly advertising fees just to hang their logos on your walls. When you combine all these elements together, the master equation finally flips in your favor. You use recurring monthly passes paid by casual members to establish a baseline of predictable income. You sell high-margin snacks and drinks to cover daily power overhead. You lock in corporate events to wipe out your monthly space bill. And you use sponsored equipment deals to neutralize the 3-year hardware death clock. The owners who go bankrupt look at a room full of computers and see an arcade. The owners who build real wealth look at that same room and see a high-tech media engine. Once you stop selling individual hours of play and start controlling the entire space, you stop gambling on foot traffic and you finally win the game.